No.
You're right. Okay, all right.
Okay, everyone. Welcome back to the seventh episode of I Am My Own Story. I am Salad Blue Sister, aka Salad, and today we have PrepNMoney, TikTok's PrepNMoney. And guys, I have learned a lot from him. I really, really have. I really, really have. From his videos, he co-hosted a show on my main show. I My turn to talk, and I am going to ask him to come back and do that by himself.
I
But
love it. I love it.
today I want to talk about Bitcoin and FTX and you know what it is, what it means, and then later on get into the financial part of prepping. So if you guys are ready, and without further ado, welcome Prepping Money.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Okay, so
Great to be here.
well, thank you. So I wanted to first talk about, because your latest videos, and you're with another gentleman, where you guys have really been talking about FTX and that time to get rid of it, whatever. Can you explain to people what FTX is and what Bitcoin is, because it kind of goes hand in hand?
Yeah, so FTX is a online crypto exchange. It was the second largest crypto exchange in the world. They have FTX, and then they have FTX US, um, which is a another online exchange here in the United States. Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, um, and it's the number one cryptocurrency in the world according to market cap. And the difference between those two is that an exchange is where you go to trade out one for one a dollar or a euro or a peso for a cryptocurrency. They're supposed to be traded one to one. For let's say the U.S. dollar, and I'll just use Bitcoin for an example. You'd need $17,000 to own one Bitcoin. So that is the going rate. Right. Well, right now it's sub $1,700 or $17,000, excuse me, and it's going down um, periodically throughout the oncoming weeks. Um, and so how you would do that is you would trade your money. Let's say on an exchange, we'll just use FTX. You'll trade your money for that cryptocurrency.
So explain how Bitcoin relates to the dollar, be it the U.S.
Okay.
dollar, the Canadian dollar, Chinese yuan. I think it's yuan. Is that how you pronounce it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. So like as in relation to.
Well, I mean, because when I talk about Bitcoin, and because I get confused, because I know that at one point, and I think that some countries still do, wanted to replace the dollar with Bitcoin. So,
I don't. They'll never be able to replace any dollar with Bitcoin just because of the fact of how much Bitcoin is. I mean, it's 17,000 for one per for one Bitcoin. So you would need $17,000 to equal one Bitcoin. So recently in the United States, and this will be probably the first for your listeners, is that the U.S. government has come out with their own coin. It's called USDS, run by a company called Stably out of Washington State, and it is the first recorded U.S. stablecoin. It's called Stably, and it's one for one. So one U.S. dollar will equal one Stably. And so the more Bitcoin you own, um, that on a separate note, the more Bitcoin you own, the more it goes up, the more wealthier you'll get. The reason why they created a stable coin in the United States, and China has already done it too. The yuan, which is their which is their digital currency, um, it goes one for one with their currency that they have over there. China has already
okay,
had a stable coin for the past 12 years.
Yeah, because in China, for the most part, they really don't use cash anymore. Everything is like on their WeChat, and they
They
use
have to
cards
exchange digital tokens when they come to the U.S. They have to exchange digital tokens for dollars,
for
and
dollars.
then they
Okay.
trade it back from dollars to digital tokens when they go back to China.
Okay.
And depending on what part of China they're from, some parts of China still use cash, but that stuff is slowly being integrated out.
Okay. Okay.
And it's
Um,
and now, yeah, and that's where the prepping part comes in it, and and that's the fun part I want to get into. But I want to get into all the other stuff for your viewers too.
okay. Before we go forward, on the bottom of your screen, you should have something that says "Stop Video," and
Hmm.
there might be a drop box. Can you change your resolution to 720?
Okay.
There we go.
All
Yep.
right.
Okay. All right. So the stable. I'm sorry. You said it was the stable coin for the U.S.
It's called
Oh,
stabling.
stay. Okay. So that's our form of, and again, I know I'm going to confuse people because I confuse myself sometimes. Um, that will be the US version of digital currency.
Yes.
Okay. So do you think that digital currency is still going to, I mean, because there are a lot of people in this country who don't have bank accounts just because they can't get them.
Hmm.
I mean, the dollar, I mean, are you ever going to get to the point where for the US where you're going to get rid of money?
Um, I think money will always be around, but I think that the effectiveness of it is going to go away very quickly for a lot of people. And let me explain when I say that. So, from 19, I think it was about 1972, we had a relationship with Saudi Arabia, correct?
Hmm.
And the birth of the petrodollar happened after the death of John F. Kennedy. Uh, he wanted to go back on the gold standard. We all know what happened to him because of it. Um, and so the petrodollar was created. We went into bed with the Saudi Arabia, and we developed basically a dollar that was backed by oil. Well, recently, now here, this just happened like 2 weeks ago. Saudi Arabia announced that they are no longer accepting the dollar. And so now you have countries like China, you have countries like Russia, Brazil, all meeting privately with Saudi Arabia. I really think that we all have heard of the BRICS nations.
Hmm.
Um, I really think that they made a deal to duel out the dollar as king. So overnight, about 2 weeks ago, a lot of people didn't know this, but actually the Chinese president and the president of Brazil both went to Saudi Arabia to usher a deal for BRICS that they will sell conveniently, um, and they're going to match dollar for dollar because now all of China's money is backed by gold.
Okay, but won't that backfire?
Backfire as in how?
Well, I mean, if you're trying to say that you're no longer going to accept the dollar, let's just say something as simple as a tourist. You know, people who use dollars and stuff. I mean, for the Americans, what you're saying is that you're not going to accept our money. So
Our dollar has slowly lost its advantages over the past 20 years, and I'll give you a couple other um, examples. And the Chinese have been playing this very broad spectrum game of Monopoly um, that a couple presidents knew that they were playing, but I goes to my prepper side and conspiracy side that I just really don't think that they cared, honestly, to tell you the truth. The reason why I don't think that they cared too much um, is because that they allowed the Chinese government and Chinese companies to come in, buy up farming,
mhm.
Bill Gates owns a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of Chinese companies own a lot of the agriculture here in the United States. They
Mm-hmm.
also own a lot of the gold mine here in the United States. They're not owned by the United States anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they also own a lot of the precious jewels commodities here in the United States, diamond mines. They own a lot of the sapphire and jade mines. We only have a few of them here, but they're all Chinese owned. Um, we don't have anything but oil to distinguish our dollar versus anybody else, because when they mine those products here, it all gets shipped there. None of it stays in the United States.
Okay, so let's talk about oil for a while. So I have to go. I don't want to bring politics into this, but I kind of have to.
Don't
Okay.
worry, I don't. I'm not a side person. I don't. I really, and
Well,
people
no. I
probably
mean,
gonna butcher me
well,
for it, but like, I really don't. I'm not really a side person. I don't.
well,
I
in in 2016 when Hillary Clinton was running, and she made which I believe was just like most politicians, you say stuff you shouldn't say, and
yeah,
then after they say it's like, well, ooh, I shouldn't have said that. But when she made the comment about getting away with, getting doing away with coal mines. But I don't think anybody listened to her when she was saying that she wanted, with the whole thing with fossil fuel and all the other stuff. The U.S. is really the only one who is really using coal. Everyone else is pretty much, transitioned over. So when you look at the fact that now the U.S. is, like you said, mainly dealing in oil, didn't we do that to ourselves? Like, all these
mm,
other countries. I mean, as for America to be the strongest and richest country, in the world, sometimes I question, well, are we? Because we keep stabbing ourselves, in the back, and then want to, complain that this person's doing it, this person's doing it. When it's like, well, no, people said it, and they said it 50 years ago, 75 years ago, whatever, that this stuff was going to happen, but we
mhm,
don't listen.
yeah.
So, didn't we do that
Um,
to ourselves?
I think here's here's my philosophy on it. I think that they know that our world is dying, and through my conspiracy theory research and everything like that, why is Jeff Bezos and why is Elon Musk trying to get to Mars as fast as they can? Why do they want to habitate Mars? Why are they trying to habitate trying to habitate other planets in our solar system? Why? Um, and I really think um, the Democrats have it right in the case of a green energy idea, and I am all for that. My only problem with it, though, is the hundreds of thousands of gallons of oil, of petrol that it takes to run a wind turbine.
Mm-hmm.
Or that why now, still in 2000, almost 2023 now, the solar panels that are used, one polycrystalline panel on an entire solar panel
Mm-hmm.
does not absorb that much light. It needs all of it. So my idea is that why not make one of those panels just a giant receiver
Mm-hmm.
instead of having multiple of tiny receivers. Do you
Mm-hmm.
get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not the energy production, or it's not the energy consumption that's the problem. Because if you look at it statistically, um, Americans are still using the same amount of energy as that they have 15, some odd years ago. The problem is the production. Is that coal and oil, even though as bad as it is for the environment, still um, it still gives us more energy production than solar and wind power right now.
And I believe that, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, people have been mining coal for years and years and years, for decades, for whatever, for centuries, whatever. Why is it that, and again, I say the US is lagging, um,
A lot
those
of
same,
the here's what I
but,
say. A lot of those coal mines, and here's And here's the thing: a lot of those coal mines in those coal mining cities and states are a lot of them vote blue, and the reason why they vote blue is because the government takes care of them when they can't coal mine, which is a lot, which is
Mm-hmm.
almost like 7 months out of the year they can't mine anything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of them will become ghost towns, and a lot of families will perish because of it because they don't. The school systems there are absolute trash. Their grandfather was a coal miner, their dad's a coal miner, and it goes on and so on, so on, so on, so on.
Okay, but but again, I know that coal does produce a lot of energy.
Hmm.
But at the same time, it's like, why is it that we cannot, and not just the US, but other places too, why is it that we can't keep our coal miners safe? I mean, because I mean,
That technology has not really advanced, honestly, to tell you the truth. Out of all the technology that we have, that is the only technology that has not advanced throughout the years.
now, is that because people are not, and I don't, and I don't want to say that the government, because everybody, want to say, well, the government does this, the government, does that. But behind the government, you have these individual people, and you have
Yeah.
greedy companies that,
Hmm.
they don't care. So is it just the fact that they don't care? And that's why, because to me, for as long as coal has been going on, as many accidents as you hear, so and so's trapped, this person's this. I mean, not that it happens every day, but the fact that it does happen, and some people don't come out, people losing, their family members and stuff. I just can't believe that that technology isn't there, that someone has not done something about it.
Well, they do have some forms of technology. I mean, they even have like pop up um, guard placements, you know what I mean, where they're digging to prevent from like cave in and stuff like that. But those things are not like 100% foolproof. And like, even if it guards one spot in the mine,
Mm-hmm.
it still doesn't stop because if there's a tremor or if the ground gives out, everything else around it can come completely down. And then those guys down there they're trapped. I mean, we hear about it in Brazil. Remember, it happened in Brazil.
Right,
It
right.
happened, you know what I'm saying, in another Asian country as well.
But
And those
why
guys,
is it But why
go
is it
ahead.
though that the air? You're going to tell me that, okay, so okay, I understand the tremors and things like that, but you're going to tell me that those guys that when they go down there, they only have a certain amount of air. You're going to tell me that they can't make something where the canisters are bigger or last longer instead of 24 hours? Or I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a coal miner or anything, but
Me
it just
either.
seems like that. It just seems like that they should be able to keep things safer. And I don't know. It just seems that when I hate this term because I think it's such BS, the trickle down theory. But when you look at the trickle down theory, it's like what you do is going to affect this person. What you do is going to affect this person. It's like, so all these decisions that are being made, it's affecting all of us.
Hmm.
So,
And it like I do believe that coal is going to go away here relatively quickly. Is it going to be ugly? Yeah, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be really ugly. Um, but I don't think even now, and I'll bring this back up and then I'll go back to your point, that even now here in Texas, I'll just use Texas as an example, sunshine like 9 months out of the year. Okay. Uh, even the sun farms here in Texas, the solar farms, they don't produce enough power to give us enough power for the state of Texas. The wind farms don't. But the two, because I know one nuclear power plant that is literally 100 miles away from me, less than 100 miles away from me. Um, it does not give enough power to power the entire state of Texas. It's literally, we have two, well, we had three, but we only have two operating nuclear power plants in the state of Texas. One is on the east, one is on the west. I live less than 100 miles away from the one on the west side of Texas. And it's scary sometimes. Um, but wrapping it up and going back to what you were talking about, the coal mine, I think a lot of those guys, imagine this, and I know when I say this, you can understand it. Um, because in the time of our US, when a lot of stuff was being invented for people, you know what suppression looks like.
Mm-hmm.
You know what agendas look like.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and you know, flat out, just to say it, you know what thievery is because a lot of the inventions, you know, that were made in the United States were made by black people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's history to prove it.
Mm-hmm.
This in the same likelihood, imagine being a broke miner with this great idea, and it'll save hundreds of lives. And you don't have to rely on my word. You can go to YouTube. Um, but imagine having the company that you work for, they won't invest in your idea or your invention. Even the people that um, even the people that make the equipment, they won't either. Why? Because that's exactly why. It's because it'll save lives. Did you know that a lot of coal miners, their companies take out insurance on their workers?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They get
Mm-hmm.
paid a lot of money when that worker dies.
Mm-hmm.
The companies get paid a lot of money when that worker dies, and to me, and their families get absolutely little to nothing. They get enough money to move away or maybe live for a year or two not having to worry about bills. But then guess what happens? The cycle continues again. And that is the point where I think needs to change. Um, and that's why a lot of lobbyists, even right wing, and there's a lot of bipartisan lobbying going on right now to help the coal industry to make it more safer. But there's also a lot of bipartisan lobbying right now to get rid of coal altogether. And honestly, to tell you the truth, I hope they do because some of these guys that go in there, they have diabetes, they have high blood pressure, they go in there, they work, they inhale all this stuff, and they have lungs of like 80-year-old men, and they're like 40, 50 years old, and it's hard for them to breathe, and there's no help for them. There's no medical help for them. I mean, even when they retire, they're sick. There's nothing to look forward to when you retire. And so, like, I hope they honestly, like, and I may get some slack for it, but I honestly hope that they get rid of the coal industry altogether. I think it's killing that part of America, and I think that it is honestly right now it's a waste of time and money. Um, because now, as everything is going green and we're looking for greener solutions to power, um, we should, as human beings, um, be able to evolve and move forward as technology moves forward. Um, Technology is so expensive. I'll go back to Bitcoin. Um, and to wrap it all in, it's so expensive to trade Bitcoin back and forth through a node. A node is a messaging operating system. Basically, what it is a message goes into it, and then it sends it out to like another central bank. Okay. So as one bank transfers, let's say they transfer 5 Bitcoin, it literally takes, it's expensive to move, and just like coal, and it is expensive to buy. And it doesn't make any sense because to me, as a crypto guy, like, and there's a lot of people out there like me, Bitcoin is great. It's not going anywhere. That's why I tell people for a while, coal and oil, it's not going anywhere. But people need to be made aware that there are faster and cheaper products out there that'll do the work 10 times faster and hold 10 times more of the weight and be able to move twice as much. And that is the argument still to this day with everything.
I'm glad you wrapped all that up because I was going to come back, and I'm, I'm glad that you put the bow on it, and that's why I say that everything affects everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Everything does. So while we're arguing about everything, it's like what you're doing is affecting me. What I'm doing is affecting you. And I have gotten some pushback too because I'm another person who thinks that coal should go away, and a lot of it for those reasons. I have a friend who used to live in a coal mining town, and I went to visit them, and I couldn't wait to get out of there. And I live in California. Used to live in, grew up Chicago, but I was like, why is everything so black? It's like you go somewhere and the side of the building is, this is from the coal,
Mm-hmm.
and you go out there, and I'm like, does the sun ever shine? And then one thing that I did notice, and this may seem silly to some people, but I'm like, aren't there any birds or anything? I mean, it's like it's just like you're going into an entirely different world.
Mm-hmm.
And I would not personally want to. I mean, I understand that people have to do that. You have to make money, you have to make a living, whatever. I personally would not want to raise my children there because um, I don't think my child's lifespan would be that long, because you're constantly inhaling this stuff. And I was glad when I left and I came back home where, yeah, California, we had bad air and this like this, but at least, I can go out and drive down and see a mountain and flowers and the sun is out, even Chicago, so, but I do think that, there are certain things that need to go away. And being of someone who has solar panels on their house, we have I think we have 36 panels on our house. So, and I understand what you mean, just one panel, because when that little red light goes on, I'm telling my husband, oh, a panel just went out. We have to call, and they got to get up there and, check it and blah, blah, blah. And
Yeah.
when a panel went out last summer, we had to wait because it was coming from overseas. We couldn't get the part. I mean, the solar's still working and everything, but one of the panels was out. So,
Yeah, and that's the part that I didn't like about solar, the solar setup on houses, is because when one panel goes out, because they they sell the panels and everything together, kind of
mhm,
like a kit. And
mhm,
they'll come out and they'll tell you and be like, okay, well, we can put this many panels on this side. This is how much sun this side of your house gets. And you know the deal, the whole
mhm,
spiel.
mhm.
I've talked to a couple solar companies, and the way that they design these packages, that's why they call it a designer package, is that they make a kit for your home. But nobody ever says, you know what I mean? Nobody ever relies on that, you know what I'm saying? One or two panels might go out in the first year, or a panel might go out after, you know what I'm saying, about 4 or 5 years.
Mhm.
And by that time, your panel might be outdated. So they have to go to a different country, or they have to ship it, or they have to ship them from the manufacturing country here in order for you to receive that panel, or altogether they might be like, hey, do you want these upgraded panels?
Right,
You know
right.
what I mean? It only costs you like $20 extra a month, but like my thing is that if technology continues to advance, I want to wait till technology is at its peak advancement before I make that decision, because I know, because my father has solar panels on his house, and he's had them on there for about a good 15 years, and he's had to replace them multiple times already. And his number one thing that he has said is, I wish they would just make a solar panel that was not only impact resistant, because those solar companies, they rely on God and or the weather to, you know what I mean, or acts of God to come and destroy these panels, hail, in a lot of the times. in the area that I live in Texas, it's a high hail probability and high winds here in the part of Texas that I live in. Even though it's in Dallas Fort Worth, it's inside the Metroplex. Um, but there's still some parts of the Metroplex that are rural, and we get a lot of wind, we get a lot of hail at the certain times of year. And I've seen people solar panels blow off their house.
Now, one thing that I will say that I talked to 5 different companies before we got solar, um, and the company that we have is pretty good. Well, our solar panel, well, it wasn't the panel that was replaced; it was that part that you said. Okay, and
Mhm.
they did it for free, whatever. We did not. We don't lease our panels. We purchased, because when you purchase, you get the rebates and the tax cuts and all the other stuff that would generally
Mhm.
go back to the company. So anybody, I would tell you, don't
Mhm.
lease because you're
Yeah.
not going to get nothing.
Mhm.
But I will say, for the Santa Ana winds that we have that are extremely strong, our panels have not gone anywhere. And I will also say for someone who refused to turn on their air conditioner and everybody just had to, pretty much die because mom said we're not turning on the air because I don't want a $5,000 electric bill.
Yeah.
Our electric bill at the end of the year, when we have to settle, we've had solar for 6 years. Um, 2 years we had credits. The last couple years we had to pay, but the out of pocket at the 12-month settle period was $200. And when I added up how much I paid, like $1 here, this bill was, $2, whatever, compared
Mhm.
to how much we were paying every year, I mean, we were paying in the thousands. So
Mhm.
for us, I personally think that people should get solar, but like you said, it has a long way to go to improve.
My
So,
whole thing is the number one thing, and this comes to the prepper side of me, is that I'm all for feeding the grid. Okay, if I can help my neighbors have power when a lot of places don't,
mhm,
you know what I mean? And then plus the benefits that you get from it, like I do want to get solar just because I like the power bank idea. I want to get a couple
mhm,
power banks for my home just so like I have like 4 to 5 days of I know energy stored. You know what I mean? That I can use that if there was a grid down situation or if there was an emergency situation. Um, my only thing is what you said is that I'd like the panels themselves to improve a little
mhm,
bit more before I go all in. Does that make
mhm.
any sense?
No, no, it does because prior to that, when we were talking about getting solar, we kept putting it off. I think we put it off for maybe 5 or 6 years because we were
Yeah.
like, oh, let's wait until, oh, well, but I will say, and I think that California has one of the most, and I know people don't like this word, progressive, um, in terms of solar. I mean, for the most part, you can get solar for if you buy. You can get solar for almost next to nothing. The state is just giving rebates left and right. And now, as of 2019, a home cannot be built unless it has at least 6 panels. The builders have to put at least 6 panels on there. If you want to add to it, but you have to have at least 6 panels. So they're trying
Hmm.
to, you know, California's into this energy thing, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but I would like to get into the prepping part of it, and if you can kind of tie the well, hold on. Before we do that, I do want to ask one more thing about FTX because I don't want to leave listeners like, well, wait, you didn't. Did FTX fail because of the management? So
No.
if the management was not crooked,
Oh, yeah. I mean, like in the crypto community, I'll say that we got wind of it first, probably before the government did. And what I
okay,
mean by that is that the crypto community is a very, very, very tight knit group of people. We follow everything on Twitter. We follow everything, but like when you know how to read basic charts, and any stock broker or any stock investor will any day trader could tell you, is that when you have an influx of tokens all of a sudden or coins, well, I'll just use FTX as an example. FTX, um, their FTX coin, their token, only had a market cap of 20 million, or I think it was 200 billion tokens. Okay. And then all of a sudden, within like a 4 month period, they went from 200 billion tokens to like 1.8 trillion tokens. And everybody's like, how has your market cap gone up almost, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's literally tripled
Right.
or quadrupled in 4 months. That doesn't make any sense. And so the price of their token went from, I think, around $9 or $10 down to literally like cents, just because there was so, it was saturated, completely saturated on their exchange. And that's when somebody in the crypto community blew the whistle and they said FTX will be found insolvent. There's no way. There's no way that they can do it. And they had the receipts to where they showed 4 months ago there's only 200 billion tokens in circulation. And now it says in coin market cap they had almost 1.4 trillion tokens in circulation. Like, that is a huge influx of tokens. And so when Twitter was a storm when that happened.
I
And then
remember.
that is when two and two got put together, CZ from Binance. Because a lot of people don't know is that CZ from Binance, the owner, the CEO of Binance, used to co-own FTX with Sam Bankman-Fried. But he got bought out of FTX by Sam Bankman-Fried with FTX token and a couple other tokens, including Binance Coin, um, which I think translated into about two. I think it was like almost 2 trillion or $2 trillion, almost that buyout. So when that happened, um, CZ said on Twitter, "I think FTX is insolvent."
So, do you think that the investors are going to get their money back?
No, absolutely not.
So, FTX, I just want to make sure, and FTX and even Bitcoin are they, like, you put your money in the bank, it's guaranteed for like $100,000, whatever it is.
Mhm.
Was there any guarantee for that? Okay.
The reason why you have guaranteed to match, even if, let's say, a bank got hacked and your account got hacked and you had like close to $10,000, $20,000 in there, you'd still get back that $10,000 or $20,000. Why? Because it's FDIC insured, it's regulated. Cryptocurrency exchanges right now are not regulated. The reason why I support Ripple in this SEC case is because I really think through this case it will bring crypto regulation. Brad Garlinghouse is a genius. He's a great marketer, but he's also a genius to the fact that um, he's even said numerous times, I hope to bring crypto regulation and help the United States government bring clarity into the crypto world, to bring regulation into the crypto world. Why? Because we've seen Luna. Luna was a huge rug pull.
Mm-hmm.
There was a huge amount of people invested in Luna, celebrities, everybody, and it shot up and the rug got pulled. As far as I know, the guy from Luna who invented Luna, he's still on house arrest. He can't leave his house. You know, multi-million-dollar mansion, can't live there. He's a billionaire because of, you know, his Luna coin. FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried. Now, if that was me or you, and we did that, we couldn't have ran to the Bahamas.
I can run down the street.
Now, and now I'm
Yeah,
just
you're
going to,
right.
and now I'm just going to say that. And then a couple weeks later, he was joined by his mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them are professors. They're both law professors. Both of them are been inside the United States government for over 30 years. They've been advisors for over, 20 years to multiple, I'm saying, congressmen and Barack Obama and Donald Trump. They were both advisors to both, you know what I mean, legal advisors. I would say, like this right here, I really think FTX was a setup. I really think it was to usher in crypto regulation because they do realize that crypto is not going away. But what the government wants to know, and this is where I think the Ripple case falls into it, is how can they tax crypto and profit from it? That is what all governments, even the SEC, even the Securities Exchange Commission, that's what they really want to know is how can this be taxed? Because the government wants their piece in everything.
Of course, of course, of
That's why I
course.
tell people, I said the crypto runs and of making people like super rich and everything like that, and a lot of these coins and stuff like that, it's over. It's over. It's been over. I mean, they had two great runs. The government watched everything. If you don't think that they didn't watch all this stuff happen, I'm sorry, guys, but you're just completely ignorant to that fact. These runs are over. They're done. The
Okay.
next, the next run of coins that are going to be, I guess, I want to say the next bull run are going to be coins that have stability, utility, that are low energy. It doesn't cost a lot to run. They can move and they can move messages and they can move money across the world effortlessly. If I want to say it, XRP by Ripple, I preach it. The reason why I preach it is because its utility and its value. Um, yes, there's a surplus of coins, and it'll move millions and quadrillions of dollars. It's already done it in testing numerous times. It's moved over 56 quadrillion dollars, and that's like a little bit less than I'm saying all the money in the world.
Hmm.
And it's moved it back and forth throughout testing multiple times and hasn't had a hiccup yet. And it moves it faster, cheaper, and that's the reason why banks love it. That's the reason why everybody's like, oh, Bitcoin will always be around, but the utility of Bitcoin, it has no utility. It doesn't do anything. It's just, Bitcoin was an experiment, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. Bitcoin was an experiment to put it out there into the world to see how people and retail investors like me and you would react to it.
Okay.
Do they want something more technologically advanced? Do they want something more? Everything's a test, and it's a test on us. I mean, you can already see it now. Apple was the first one to do Apple Pay, and then Samsung followed. 3 months after that, you can just wave your phone and pay for anything you want. There's even some parts in the world, and this goes into the prepper conspiracy side, where now in Italy and Switzerland, they have little chips inside your hands, you know what I mean, or in your arm, and you can just wave, you can just scan your arm or your hand and pay for your stuff and be on your way. I'm just
Well, let,
saying this, I'm not saying this to scare anybody. I'm
no,
not saying, but like this is literally how fast technology builds and how far it moves. Now, my conspiracy side is anti anything inside my body. Okay. But my technologically advanced side is like, if I can pay for it and just run my phone across it, I'm good. I don't like cards. I think they're dumb. I think everybody loses a card every now and again, or they always say, "Where's my card?" You know what I mean? But you always have your phone for some reason. And if you don't have your phone, you have your watch. Your watch has a payment option too. You can just tap your watch and then you go. But you just wave your phone. You know what I mean? You wave it, and you're good. You're gone. And like, and that's as far as I'll go. And I'll just say that. Like, I don't want to like be so technologically advanced where I'm getting implants inside my skin or inside my face and stuff like that. Like to me, like that at that point, I don't know. Yeah.
Let's talk about the prepper point, and then if we have time, I want to go back to to the conspiracy part because I'm not a
Correct.
conspiracy theorist, but
I know.
I've heard a lot of people have said some things where I have said also depending upon who says it, because some people tell me things and I'm like, you know what, that is just so far fetched that I'm just not, just go somewhere, But on the prepper side, financially, um, with everything that's going on, because I personally think that 2023 is going to be a hard year. I think it's going to be a hard year for.
I've been saying it. I've been saying it for the past. If you followed me, I've been saying it for the past 2 years. Going into 2023, 24, 25 is going to be super, super hard.
But I think it's going to be hard. I mean, I think it's going to be hard for everybody, even for the rich people. But it's going to really be hard for people who don't have that much money or don't have any money at all, or people who are not
Mhm.
prepared. So on the financial side, um, what should people have? I would say just in terms of the minimum for just to get through 2023. I mean, if they had money in the bank, if they're keeping money up under your mattress, in Apple Pay,
My
whatever.
my here's my deal. We all know we've been in a recession for the better part of a year.
Hmm.
They just won't say it.
Hmm.
But everybody that's lived through a couple of recessions, like me and yourself, we know,
Hmm.
guys. During when there's no inflation, prices don't fluctuate like this.
Hmm.
I just paid for 18 eggs. I just paid $8.99 for 18 eggs over here in Texas. For 18 eggs in Texas, it's $8.99. For 15 dozen over here right now, it's $59.89. I know because my family eats a lot of eggs. So I bought 15 dozen eggs. 2 years ago, 15 dozen eggs, it comes in the big box that you can get
Hmm.
at Sam's Club or Costco. It only costs 30 bucks. It's $29. So in 2 years, it's gone up almost 120%. Like like to me, that's unfathomable. You know what I mean? Like you can't you can't put a you can't put anything. Oh, we'll do bacon. Bacon's another one. Everybody loves. A lot of people love bacon. Um, a pound of bacon 2 years ago was around $8. Now it's $13
I thought
here.
California was high because, in fact, our bacon prices have, because I don't buy packaged bacon. I only buy bacon at the deli or whatever it is. And a pound of bacon here is, I mean, it has gone down. It was like 6.99. Now it's like four
It's
ninety
different in
nine.
different parts of the country.
Yeah.
In California, it's cheaper over there. Do you know why?
Well, number one, we have all our dairies and
No.
what have you. What? Why?
Because you got all those vegans and stuff over there. It's not
I'm sorry.
a very
I'm sorry. We have what?
a lot of vegans over there, and it's California is very progressive.
But
So
okay,
a lot
okay,
of meat
okay.
eaters over there. There, no, I follow a lot of people
No,
from
no, no, no,
California.
no, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on.
Okay,
No, no, you make a very good point, but don't you also think that it also depends upon what area of California that you live in? Because I live in a very conservative area. And by the way, I was here first. They came and followed me. But I live in a very conservative area where they are meat eating people, as opposed to when I lived in LA and I was in the entertainment, whatever, and they were like, "Oh no, I don't eat meat," So don't you think that it would depend also on the area that you're in?
yes.
Meaning,
I mean, it depends. Usually, I live in a more rural area that is being developed right now,
okay,
to the point where now, like, we're starting to see some things come down, but like meat. I mean, even the price of chicken over here has gone up. You know what I mean? And like,
chicken, okay.
yeah. So even the price of chicken, I think chicken, and you might agree with me, should be the cheapest meat that there is.
It should be. It
You know what I
should.
mean? But
It
like,
should.
yeah, it should. But like here, um, it's high. It's high. I mean, we're paying $6.99 for almost a pound for a pound of chicken. That's a lot.
So in terms, okay, so in terms of prepping, because whenever chicken breasts go on sale, I will like just buy it and then I'll freeze it. And then I'll tell my husband, I'll say, so and so has chicken on sale, go and get some, whatever. And I'll freeze it. I mean, I freeze some of everything. I mean,
Me too.
I make my own frozen dinners. I think it's ridiculous to go to the store and spend $4 on a frozen dinner. And my son, he likes certain things that he just can't came home for school, and he's like, "Mom, did you get?" I'm like, "Just go into the freezer, just taste it." He's like, "This is good," and he goes, "Well, how did you do this?" I literally go to the store, take a picture of whatever it is, and I'm like, I can do this myself. So
Yeah,
it's
you
like
can.
we have all this stuff that is, I mean, we have food in the refrigerator. And when I tell people I do this, my non prepping friends, I mean, I'm not all, I mean, some people are like just total preppers. I'm not, I don't have a closet full of beans and stuff like that. But I know the importance of it. So again, how do you get people through next year?
This is the number one thing. You haven't worried about your money up to this point, so stop worrying about it. Put it on the back burner. This is what I tell everybody. Going into this, and when they finally announce that we're in a recession, it's going to be one of the worst. It's going to be the fastest, worst recession you've ever seen. It's literally going to be maybe the better part of 6 to 9 months, and then we're going to go in a literal market fallout. I mean, we're seeing it right now. Crypto's falling off of a cliff. The Dow, the S&P 500 is falling off of a cliff right now. Um, when you really start to agitate all those things, sooner or later the people are going to wake up. But the very first thing I tell people they need to do, you need at least 3 to 6 months worth of food for each member of your household. And so if you're not worried about money up to this point, then don't worry about the money. But when there's no food on the shelves, or when you are competing inside the store for things with other members of your community, to me, I don't want to be that guy in the grocery store. I don't. I'm a big guy. I stand at 6'5". I tower over a lot of people. I don't want to have to make the decision for my family or somebody else's family. Do you get what I'm saying? In that type
Mm-hmm.
of a situation. Um, and even though yes, we're spoiled here in the United States, less than 6, 9 months ago, what happened? We started getting news of all these distribution centers mysteriously going up in flames.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of distribution centers going up.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of distribution centers here in Texas that have gone out, not gone out of business, but have been shut down over the past 9 months. And we have a lot of them here because Walmart has a headquarters here, just like they do in Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of distribution places they get a tax write-off. So a lot of distribution places have warehouses here. A lot of them have shut down here in Texas, even though there are a lot of them still open. Back in my mind, I'm like, why haven't these distribution centers reopened? Why are they remaining closed? There's no loss of truckers, as far as I know. Truckers haven't lost their jobs, but there's less and less places for them to travel to, if that makes any sense.
No, no, no. It does.
And but like 50 pounds of rice, when I first started, 50 pounds of rice 2 years ago was around $20. 50 pounds of rice now, in a lot of places, you can check this out here, as it's actually gone down. But at the peak of this past scare, when I first met you, was 50 pounds of rice was around $32 to $36 for 50 pounds of rice. That's a lot. That's almost like you got to think about it from like that. 3/4 of that sack is almost $1 a cup. You know what I mean? If you or $1 a pound, if you think about it. You know what I mean? So you're getting what, 63 cents to 60 cents a cup on average, rather than 2 years ago, where you get it for about 10 to 20 cents per average per cup. You know what I mean? In a grid down situation, 2 cups, 40 cents would have fed your family. You know what I mean, for a meal. Two
Well,
cups of rice would fed your family for a meal.
one thing that I have done is I've always had a garden. I like it. I think it's fun. I like being outside. But this
I do too.
summer, my neighbor helped me build a crop cage greenhouse, whatever. I'm going to post it on
Mhm.
TikTok pretty soon. It's 10 by 20. And I have some of everything in there because I do not, very rarely do I go to the market to get vegetables. And lettuce has just gone up ridiculous because I mean 40% of farmers here in California, and we supply a lot of the nation's food. 40% of their crop is less than what it was 2 years ago. And I'm like, I can grow my own stuff, which I do very
That
well.
that and the Taylor Farms is based out of California. They're a huge lettuce provider. Um, there's another one that is a huge East Coast, and they do spinach, lettuce, like mesclun mix, spring mixes,
Hmm.
stuff like that. When the East Coast got hit with that hurricane, um, I'm a chef. I work at the airport. I get memos all the time from different distribution centers with Cisco saying that, hey, the entire East Coast, um, and I got an email, you know what I mean, that said that basically, like, there's going to be shortages on lettuce and different types of lettuce because the East Coast has suffered from this hurricane and has literally messed up all the crops of lettuce. So wouldn't that naturally, acts of God naturally raise prices up? Because now they're saying for prices to come down, it's going to be anywhere between 4 and 6 months. Because now we're outsourcing here in Texas. Now we're outsourcing because our main distribution comes out of Detroit and Detroit down into Texas from the East Coast. So now what we're hearing is that now our distro has changed from Detroit to um, Nevada. So a lot of our stuff is coming from California
Hmm.
to Nevada down into Texas. So they're trying to. So with that is that from what I heard on the East Coast, from what my Cisco rep told me, they said it was devastating. Like they said, like literally farms were underwater. So, but I didn't see anything of it. I didn't see anything on the news about it. So I don't. Are the farms really underwater, or are the farms, what I'm saying, just like at this point? Like I don't know, and that's just not my conspiracy side, but it's 90% of Americans, you know what I mean, or other people in the world. You want to see it to believe it, right? You want to have some sort of like something on the internet saying that, I mean, this farm is like okay, or they're doing production. I did the research. The farm is okay. They were underwater. The water has receded thus far. They have to give the soil at least a couple months break before they plant it again.
Right,
So yeah.
but in that couple of months though that they are waiting, that's a couple of months that food is not being produced. So
Hmm.
again, I mean, everything just goes up. So why do you think that COVID, however you want to look at COVID, has changed people's mindsets on how they prepare, how they handle their money, how they do food? Or do you think that people are like, oh, well, this just happened and we'll go back to
COVID,
normal?
statistically, um, as a finance guy, I look at statistics a lot. COVID increased people's spending habits tremendously. People were stuck in their homes. Amazon skyrocketed. Walmart skyrocketed. They made more money during COVID than they did in the past 5 years. People spent their life savings just because they fact they couldn't get out of their house, and I've heard countless stories of that.
But did they spend okay? But what did they spend their money on? Because I know places like Lowe's and Home Depot, they made money because people were at home because they said, okay, I'm going to start fixing the roof because I have to let it go for 5 years. I'm going to do it now.
Hmm.
But did they spend their money on worthwhile things or was it junk?
It was junk. I
Okay.
mean, it was basically home improvement things. A lot, you know what I'm saying? I could say 20% of it was home improvement things. There's a lot of people who were, the majority of the spending came to clothes, um, food, and you got to think about it like this: the average American, okay, can't speak across the world because the world is completely different, but the average American holds anywhere between 2 weeks to a month worth of food inside their home at all times. Average. They're a lot less fortunate. I'll agree with that, but I'm just speaking on averages right now. And people were buying food out of control. Do you remember going to the store during COVID and just during the first couple of weeks of COVID and nothing being on the shelves?
During the first couple of weeks of COVID, I stayed out of the stores because we've always had food in our freezer.
Yeah.
And that comes from, I mean, my parents growing up, they would go to the store and get a half a cow and chop it up and they wrap it up, and I mean
Hmm.
we always had food in the freezer.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
always my mother was always at, don't go to the store and just buy a roll of toilet paper.
Buy
Go and
multiple
buy,
rolls of yeah.
you have, it's like especially stuff that you use all the time. So, and I would hear people, say, yeah, I just came back from the store. And then when I finally went to the store, things were starting to stock up more, but I never really went to the store. I'm like, I'm not fooling with all that mess. I'm not dealing with that.
So me and a couple other preppers, a couple of us, you know what I'm saying, that are in the
Mm-hmm.
community. Um, we did a whole TikTok thing, you know what I mean, on there. And like, I went to the store during the first couple weeks of COVID. I went darn near almost every day. And
Was that to show people what was going on, or you had to
yeah,
really go to the, okay.
that was just that's when I first started my TikTok.
Okay.
And that was to show people what was going on, and I tell people, this DFW area, this is my, Walmart or Kroger, or over there in California, I think it's Fred
Mm-hmm.
Meyer's and Safeway, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm from Washington State originally, so I know what Fred Meyer's and Safeway is. But and there was like every day it was slim pickings every day. Luckily, at that time, I did have a chest freezer. I did have, what I'm saying, like a couple months worth of food inside there.
Mm-hmm.
But it was more of a social experiment for me to see how people reacted to it. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as much as people tried to say that they were in defiance of the mask mandates and the order, they really weren't. Because the only time, the free time that they could have out of their homes, and most people that I saw were out of their homes, were either if they were doing home improvements or if they were shopping. Now, there was a huge amount of times where the Walmart pickup or the Walmart delivery for groceries to your home was so overran that when I went into the physical store to buy groceries, I actually had Walmart people frown on me and like get an attitude because they thought I was putting their life at risk, you know what I mean? But really, I was going to pick up groceries for myself. But they were so overpacked and so overran that people were waiting in line for Walmart pickup up until 11 p.m. at night because just in my area, because they couldn't keep up with the demand or orders. They didn't have enough staff, and they still don't. Everybody complains about Walmart. Walmart doesn't have any staff.
Well, Walmart, I mean, even before COVID, it was like,
Yeah,
are
you know
y'all
what I
going to
mean?
put
Like,
some stuff on the shelves? I mean, Walmart has always had that issue,
yeah, they've always had
you
that
know.
issue, but like they ran into it even more during to where like they called back half of their service staff, and that's people who work on the floor just to fill orders. You don't have to. This is what they told them. You don't have to deal with the public. All you need to do is drag this cart around, fill orders, make sure that the order is filled, and then you know what I mean. At the end of your day, you clock out, you go home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but like when I went in there, when I went in my local Walmart, it was literally just jam packed full of Walmart workers just filling orders, just filling orders. So to me, because I was an essential employee, I worked at the airport. I work at, you know, the DFW airport. It is the third largest airport, or no, fourth largest airport in the world, second largest in the United States. So I was scared every day. I was scared every day because we still had flights. We still had full flights coming, you know what I mean, during that time from until um, that knucklehead, you know what I'm saying, Trump, you know, started to close our borders off. We still have full flights coming every day. We still had to feed people every single day. And we're feeding people on to go plates and to go utensils. And we still had to feed people every single day. And we had full restaurants. Nobody was following the 6 feet by 6 feet rule. Nobody was following that rule. I'm just going to tell you that. I'm just going to put it out there right now. Nobody was following that rule. It was here in Texas, and they went by Dallas's mandate. Um, it went by Dallas's mandate to officially um, enforce 6 feet to the point where we had to remove 3/4 of the tables and chairs out of our restaurant to be able to mandate these rules to be able to stay open.
You know,
And
can I just talk about the 6 feet rule? Okay, now
six
people
feet,
who,
6 feet wasn't enough. I'm just going to say that right now.
well, okay, people who know me, um, personally, people who know me personally know that when I go into the store, even now, I got my mask and I'm starting to put my gloves back on. Okay. And I was wearing gloves before COVID because people are just nasty. Okay. They're just
Mm-hmm.
nasty. I've said that many times. Um, people, the 6 feet rule, I mean, people would really get upset. But it's like before COVID started, I remember being in the market with it was a family. It was mother, father, two girls, and the oldest daughter, just coughing, not covering her mouth, coughing. Where I was behind them, and I was standing. I wasn't standing 6 feet away. I was probably about 4 feet away, and I kept looking at them, and I went to another line that was longer. I didn't care. So people who get upset and say, oh, well, you're putting on, oh, that's silly, whatever. You do you and I'll do me, but I don't want you coughing towards me. If you're sick, I don't want you around me, because I wouldn't cough on you. I wouldn't do that to you. And you're right, 6 feet was not far enough. I'm like 10 feet, 15 feet. You know what? In fact, you just stay outside. And then when I'm finished, whatever. But
So I'll tell you a story. Okay. And this is how I believe that I was one of the few first that were subjected to COVID at the time. This was in November. Um, this was in the November of 2019, going into 2020, where we just, in about mid-January, things started to really crack off with COVID
mm-hmm.
in our country. So this is November. I remember I was working at the coffee part of the restaurant, because the way that the restaurant sits, you have a restaurant, you have a full restaurant, and on the other side you have like a little coffee shop in the Dallas Fort Worth airport. So I was making coffee. We were short staffed. Everybody had been out with this upper respiratory bronchitis or whatever it was going around at the time. Um, Chinese couple comes up and wants some coffee and some hot water. So I'm doing it, and as I hand the woman, little old lady, her cup, my fiance is giggling in the background because she remembers the story. But I hand her her cup, you know what I mean, and I told her to have a nice day. She coughs into my mouth,
What?
and
Oh my God.
I can feel a spittle hit
Oh
the
my,
top of my lip.
okay. Hold on, because I'm just grossed out right now.
Yeah,
I'm okay.
and I was grossed out to the point where I started freaking out because I had this woman's spittle on my face. Like I could feel it all over my face. And so like I take antibacterial wipes. I'm wiping my face off. Like you can ask my fiance, I'm not exaggerating. I took a couple pumps of hand sanitizer, put it in my mouth, and switched it around, and spit it out. Like I was freaking. I literally went in the bathroom and I freaked out because at that time in November we had just started hearing of something coming from China, and
Did you get sick?
I did. I did get sick about it. It took about 14 days at that time. But 2 weeks later, I was sick and I still had to go to work because I was running the restaurant at the time. And I had a mask on. Um, but the fact is, I had to work 2 weeks. And when I finally had a chance to go to the doctor, he said it was the worst case of walking pneumonia he'd ever experienced.
You thought you had COVID then.
I thought I had whatever was going around, I thought I had it first.
Okay,
And then
so looking back, do you think it was COVID? That's what I'm
yeah,
asking.
I
Okay.
do. I really do because I was so winded every single day and I couldn't like it was everything was a task. I mean, even for the essential workers having to work every single day, feed people, um, a lot of that time, you know what I mean? Like everything was with the walking pneumonia, everything. I didn't even know I had walking pneumonia. And it was the worst. Um, it was the worst I've ever felt. I've had the flu before twice. Um, it was worse. It's worse than a flu.
Please tell me that that woman at least said, "I'm sorry."
No, she just walked away. She just walked away. I know her husband said something to her, but she just walked away. They both just walked away. And that's where my conspiracy side is that did they purposely come over here to start an outbreak? Because in my restaurant alone, after that, within 2 weeks, the majority of our restaurant was sick.
I don't I don't think that okay, I don't believe in the conspiracy that they purposely came over here to do it, but I do believe that you had open borders and you had people from all over the world
Yeah,
coming over here, and even us going there. I mean, I just think that
it was the perfect storm. That's why I
yes,
tell people all the
yes,
time. I
yes.
still to this day, what she did was absolutely disgusting. But do I blame her? I don't because I have interactions with thousands of people every single day. If you think about it, I work in an airport. I will have interactions with thousands of people every single day. If anybody should have the best immune system in the world, it's me. But I don't, and so what I try to do is that I try to make sense I've tried to make sense of what COVID was. And I think half of it was it a sickness that, I'm saying the world hasn't seen? Yeah, I do. I think it was. Um, but did the government try to make it as quiet and as sneaky as possible to what really occurred? I do. I really do. And
Do you
part of that reasoning is that I do realize that if the government would have you got to think about it like this. There's been other times throughout our history where the government, and this was basically, you know what I mean, like it's they did in the 1920s during the Great Depression. They just basically told people, and they announced it in the papers, and all the papers ran it, that the biggest stock market crash in U.S. history.
Mm-hmm.
And companies didn't even know. They thought everything was fine. And then what did you hear? People in all these companies and everything like that, they were committing suicide. Um, Life insurance at that time during the Great Depression kept a lot of wealthy families wealthy. And it also gave birth to a lot more wealthier families were established during that time. And that's why I preach life insurance um, to anybody and everybody. Yeah, I don't. And people want to argue about what kind of life insurance. I really don't care. In the next 10 years, you need life insurance. You need life insurance in the next 10 years. Um, the reason why is, and I don't care how, what I'm saying, what kind it is or how much it is, you need some kind of life insurance in the next 10 years. That's what I tell people all the time
Well,
because it's important. It's important not only for the next generation of your family, but life insurance has its benefits as well.
no, it does. My son has had life insurance since he was born, and we have life insurance. I have a policy that, my parents took out on me and, my sister. And so, yeah. Um, but we have been talking for longer
And we
than I
haven't even
thought.
we haven't even touched on half of the stuff that we want to
On
talk
half
about.
of the stuff. So I am going to ask you,
Okay.
we can either do a part two of this, or I actually would like for you to come on my show and host a show.
Okay.
Because the last time that you and Doomsday were on,
Hmm.
I had a lot of good feedback. I think that at least on YouTube, I think it got like 500 something hits, which for me that's good.
Hmm.
I don't have the following that you all have, but people. I mean, this is important. This is important things to know. And even though people, they want to talk about COVID, they don't want to talk about COVID. You know, people still want people still have their opinions on it. So I would
Hmm.
like to, since this is a pre-recorded show, I still would like for people to, I would like to open up the panel, and we can talk, and you can take questions if you don't mind. And well, you know how Podbean works. So
Yeah. Yeah, I know how Podbean works. I'd love to do that, but just to wrap this part up,
mhm.
if you guys have any crypto on exchanges, on any exchange, I don't care if it's crypto.com, I don't care if it's Binance, you guys need to learn how to shift your crypto to a cold storage wallet, not a
but
hot wallet, not a hardware wallet, a cold storage wallet that is off of anything electronical.
but how do people do that? That's going to be
Okay.
the question.
Okay. Well, I can make a video of that. You can follow me on TikTok. But this is basically what you do: is I use Ledger. It is, to me, in my opinion, it hasn't been hacked yet. There's been a couple that have already been hacked. Um, I use Ledger Nano Pro um, to hold multiple cryptocurrencies on there. And what you would do is you would connect this Ledger to your laptop through USB. Okay. You have to download the Ledger app onto your laptop or computer. Um, Make a wallet for each cryptocurrency that you hold, and you have to make sure that in your exchange that your crypto is transferable. Okay, that it has an open ledger network, and XRP does, XLM does, now recently. So and there's multiple other ones that do. Even the what they label as shit coins like Shiba Inu, Doge, they do as well. When you find out on your exchange that those items are transferable, that you can send them to another wallet, send them to that Ledger wallet. Ledger will then ask you a series of questions to make sure that it's you, okay, for security issues.
Mhm.
When you get the Ledger, order it from Ledger. Do not order it from Amazon or another third party seller. order ledger from ledger. Okay. The reason why that is because there's a term in crypto called not your keys, not your crypto. So if you buy it from a third party person or somebody off of Amazon, there's a good chance that it does not come from Ledger.
Okay.
Okay. And so they could have opened it, they could have pre-programmed your ledger, they could have pre-programmed your ledger and with certain key phrases. You get what I'm saying? And
Basically,
so
they're hacking.
yeah, there's about 22 to 24 words that you need to unlock your ledger. If there was ever like a grid down situation, or if there was a mishandling and you have your crypto on this ledger,
Mm-hmm.
on this cold storage device, Ledger will not release your crypto unless the key phrases are met.
Okay.
So you need to design a PIN. You'll get the box. It'll say put in your PIN. Then um, it'll give you a choice of key phrases, and that you need to write down this ledger's key phrases. Okay, every ledger has a different key phrase. Okay, 24 words, and what you do is that the 24 words have to be in order. So what I tell people is write down your key phrase on a piece of paper. Don't store it on your computer or anything like that. Keep a separate note of your key phrase. Put it in a safe. Don't keep it in a box or anything on your, you know what I'm saying, just leaving out in the middle of nowhere or inside your drawer. That's what dummies do. That's how people get their key phrases taken. Like, you got to think about it like this. If you're investing in crypto and you know you have the potential to have millions of dollars, do you think a millionaire would keep millions of dollars inside of a sock drawer?
Of course not.
Of course not. So I tell people all the time, invest in a safe. If you have a car safe, you can put it in your car safe. If you don't have a car safe, I know for a basic biometric that does your fingerprint, a fingerprint safe, a basic one,
Mm-hmm.
that you can keep, you know what I'm saying, a couple $1,000s, maybe a couple gold and silver bars, and then, your
Your
uh,
key
your
phrase.
key phrase or your cold storage device. It only costs you around $50 to $100.
Okay.
So, and I want that security, and so what I tell people all the time is, yes, this is the boring part of crypto, but it's the most important part of crypto. It's the
Well,
most important part. And I tell people all the time, if all these exchanges go down, you can't, and we saw it with FTX, you can't pull anything off. Now you're seeing with Binance. Binance is under investigation by the Department of Justice, and all they're doing right now is buying time for the SEC. You can't make any withdrawals from Binance for at least 3 or 4 days because they want to know if Binance is solvent. But I know, and a lot of people in the crypto industry know, Binance did not make their money from marketing, like, or let me backtrack. Binance makes their money from marketing and from user fees. They don't use other people's crypto. There isn't, all their crypto is backed one by one. I believe that Binance will be found solvent, will be the first crypto exchange found solvent. Next will be crypto.com. They will go under a fine tooth comb too. So all these crypto exchanges that are getting investigated is not necessarily, what I tell people, it's not necessarily a bad thing. We need this.
right.
We need these cryptocurrency exchanges to be investigated because it's your guys' money. This is your guys' investment. That's why I tell people all the time, if you buy a crypto on a crypto exchange, you have to get it off that exchange. Now, every time that I buy crypto, I automatically transfer it into my cold wallet. I do not want it sitting. I just don't. I just don't trust, after the FTX thing, I don't trust them. I don't trust a lot of exchanges. To me, like, if you want me to believe that you are found solvent, there should be some white paper, or there should be some um, there should be some proof that you provide me
Mm-hmm.
as a retail investor that shows how much of the crypto you hold and how much you have left. Um, the only exchange that I literally deal with is Uphold. The reason why I deal with Uphold is because they have been 100% transparent from the beginning. They every single month they come out with a new white paper showing people exactly how much they have on hand, how much reserves they have, and they're always literally one to one with everything that they have. And so to me, like, you almost have to overprove yourself now for me to invest with you, and their fees might be a little higher. I don't care. I just want to know beyond the shadow of a doubt that the crypto that I'm buying is actually real, and they keep the majority of the money that they take from investors, they hold it in separate accounts,
Which you're supposed to do anyway.
like they're supposed
Yeah.
to be found solvent, and they show proof of it. And so to me, that's comforting. So the
Okay.
only exchange that I use right now is Uphold. I don't use any other exchange but Uphold. Um, so wrapping that up, the real key question is that with FTX, there was over $80 trillion in back staking with derivatives. There's back trades. These trades were people's pensions. There's people 401k. Um, JP Morgan was extremely vested into FTX. He won't admit, or they won't admit that. Jamie Dimon is a liar. I tell people that all the time, and I don't care if they want to question me on it. JP Morgan has been responsible for more people losing 401ks and pension funds. Because why? Because JP Morgan deals with Fidelity. Fidelity is a sub sister corporation of JP Morgan, and they will get a write off for that, for whatever was invested. JP Morgan, right now, as they sit as a company, you can look this up. This is basic common knowledge. Derivatives market with people's pensions and 401ks and adverse investments in different shell corporations in the United States is over leveraged by $68 trillion.
That's a lot. That's a
That's a
lot.
lot of people's retirement. That's a lot of people's pensions. That's a lot of faith people are putting inside of a company that has a lot to do with what happened in that $80 trillion of um, back share trades with FTX, and they have to answer for that. I think JP Morgan has a lot to do with it. You can see in a couple of my TikTok videos of my distaste for Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan and just the entire derivatives market. Honestly, to tell you the truth, like, we used to be able to in this company or in this country base our retirement on hard assets, gold and silver and stuff like that, not shell corporations, not what these certain investors think that we should do with their money. And so that's the second part of this. I'll answer more of those questions in part two if people want to see a part two. Um, but what to do now to prepare for this? Extra stuff on hand. I think everybody, and these numbers are going to sound a little high to a lot of people, but if you think about your spending, what you do on a month-to-month basis, and what you can cut out going into now, okay? This is by no means financial advice, but what I do is that I need at least $2,000 for each member of my family put to the side. The reason why I say that is because I have 4 children. They're kids. Kids do dumb stuff, they get hurt. So if I need to take them somewhere, I need something that's going to be able to at least pay some of it. Now, I do have medical insurance too, okay? But if you're thinking about in a grid down situation or in a Great Depression era, $2,000 would have got you a lot. Um, and I believe it's going to go down to that. If the dollar doesn't mean anything, you need something else on backup. Gold is almost running out. Hard asset gold, um, coins and bars, they're running out. Um, If you noticed the other day in the stock market, gold was around 1800 an ounce. It's about 1800. Gold continues to go up. Um, what I tell people is you need to buy silver. Silver is going to be at the same price gold is here in the next 10 years. So I tell people if you can afford uh, the micro silver bars or any silver bars or coins, buy them. Keep them in a safe. Keep them in a safe place. Why? Because I can guarantee you, in a grid down situation, a $20 silver piece will go a long way. Um, and we can get into more of that too. But really, you can have all the silver, you can have all the gold you want to, and I'll preach this, to the day I die. A lot of old preppers they hate this idea, but to me, in this day and age, yeah, you can have all the gold, you can have silver, you can have that stuff stocked up. That stuff is great. But like, if we were in a grid down situation, you paid something with silver or gold, and somebody that was not friendly saw you do that, they decided to follow you. You put your family
At
and your
risk.
saved at risk. And so what I tell people is that I will always make trades with food first. I have, you know what I mean, a can, 2 cups of rice, and one of those big cans of beef stew. You can feed an entire family of 4 if you do it right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so at that point is you're thinking about it like this. Family stew. And I will always trade food first.
Yeah,
Food,
food. Yeah, food. So I definitely have food that I would trade. So
food is the strongest commodity that you can have. You know what I
mhm.
mean? And I'm not talking about like things are going to get so bad where people, are killing each other for food. I think we're years away from that, um, because I like to look at things positively instead of just constantly. I guess I'm more of a positive prepper than I am of a negative Nancy prepper that constantly preaches fear. But just because um, I don't think that the world is going to go completely to the toilet, I still preach to people you need at least 3 to 6 months of food for each member of your family first before you do anything. And that looks to me that looks like if you look at a half cup portion, if you're eating rice twice a day, each for at least 3 to 6 months, each member of your house needs about 100 pounds of rice apiece. If the cheapest, you got to think about it like this: the cheapest they need about 100 pounds each, and then you
Okay.
can start from there. You know what I mean? And then all this information is available on the internet. The Mormons have a website of what they used to do. Um, so I'll run through it here real quick. 100 pounds of rice for each member of your family. Each member of your family needs about 11 pounds of salt for a year to survive. That seems like a lot, but if you look at it and all the salt on everything that we consume, salt is a beneficial part of our body. We need it. It's an electrolyte. Uh, Also, in a quick pinch, if you don't have any disinfectant, or if you don't have any alcohol to pour on a wound, you can pour salt on a wound so you can find some. And a lot of people don't know. Baking soda. Each member of the household needs about 5 pounds of baking soda, not only for baking, but baking soda is essential for the body. Um, Sodium bicarbonate, it helps with liver and kidney function. It's also an electrolyte beverages. So a little bit of salt, a little bit of sodium bicarbonate, you can make yourself a Powerade, or a Gatorade, and people don't know that. Um, Other thing is flour. Um, each member of the household for 6 months needs 50 pounds of flour. And this may seem like a lot if you have a big family. You know what I mean? There's no way we eat all through this. How many times do you go to the store for bread in a month? I know with 4 children, I buy a lot of bread. I buy a lot of bread for sure. Why? Because we still believe in eating sandwiches and other things
Mm-hmm.
and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We still eat toast in our house,
Mm-hmm.
and every family needs to start to build a recipe book. Protein. Canned protein is still relatively cheap. You can get canned protein. Each member of your house, they'll tell you it doesn't matter what kind of protein it is, but each member of your house needs 100 pounds of protein for the 3 to 6 month period.
Okay.
And these lists are available online, guys. You know what I mean? Like it, and you can really delve in and you can really do a lot of research in it. And it seems overwhelming, but you got to think about it like this: out of all these preppers that are on here, there's tons of preppers on here on TikTok, on YouTube, and I've done it at the dollar store. I prepped at the dollar store. There's nothing wrong with prepping at the dollar store. Is it cheap? Yeah, but you got to think about it like this: everybody who's ever shopped at a dollar store knows that they have sales and they have 50% off days. A lot of times in your area, a lot of people, they don't know about the 50% off days. But you go there, you can literally double up on everything. You can double up on all your preps.
I go to the dollar store. Absolutely.
I do
Well,
too. A
can
lot.
you
Go ahead.
now I was just going to say, can you give people your where they can find you? Are you just on TikTok or you're
Yeah, I'm on TikTok and I'm Twitter at PrepNMoney. I don't do YouTube because I just feel like the YouTube is oversaturated with preppers and other crypto guys, and I found my place on TikTok and on Twitter. So if you want to, you know, if you want to follow me, awesome. Um,
I will tell everyone, please follow him. I think I follow you on Twitter. I have to check. I think I do follow you on Twitter. But I definitely follow
most
you on
most of what
TikTok.
I post on Twitter is literally about cryptocurrency. So and most of my stuff on prepping and on cryptocurrency is on TikTok.
Okay. Okay. Well, I just want to say thank you. I have been thinking about asking you to get on, but I just get so busy and what have you. But I appreciate that you said
I know we
yes.
talked a lot. I know we talked a lot about what we didn't want to do. So if you want to do another one like this, I'd love to do it. I love talking cryptocurrency and conspiracy theories.
I do
Um,
want to get into the conspiracy thing, but I'm going to do that on a part two. And guys, we are definitely going to have a part two because I have some questions and probably start there. But I am officially inviting you onto my turn to talk. And after we
all right.
wrap this up, I'm going to talk to you about that. But again, Prep and Money, thank you so much for spending almost 2 hours with me. Thank you. Thank
I
you.
can go on another 2 hours. You know that.
So, but we are going to end it here. And everyone, thank you so much. And we will see you next time.
See you next
Peace.
time.